watching West Dakota Fox News at 9 with Anna Schleisman and meteorologist Henry Blakes. Your first news of the night starts right now on West Dakota Fox News at 9.
Well, after dozens were displaced, McKenzie County residents are preparing to face tens of thousands of dollars in damage and several months of restoration before they can move back in. Everything that requires or produces electricity has to be replaced. Sheetrock has to be torn down, and almost no furniture or porous surface is salvageable because of the condition of the water.
Flood water picks up everything in its path, whether it be raccoon dander, skunk dander, animals, pesticides, oils, greases, and that's now in your home. And that is a very dirty, contaminated water to have in the structure.
They may deal with septic tank backup as well, and if things are documented, FEMA may be able to reimburse some of those damages. Well, let's take a deeper look at this quickly. Henry, what are you seeing out there?
Hey, we got some latest river levels right now. Pretty much not much has changed, unfortunately. It's going to gradually change, but for the time being, the Missouri River at Williston, 26.69 feet at the latest. Little Missouri at Medora, 16.34. Cannonball River at Brien, 18.28. All still remaining above flood stage. Missouri River at Bismarck and the Hart River at Mandan, however, are below flood stage, and that aerial flood watch does remain in effect for portions of south central North Dakota from Bismarck down into Emmons County and all the way eastward into Jamestown, Lemoore, and Ellendale. Because of all the snow melt, we are going to be seeing and are seeing some flooding in localized areas due to that. Also, we've got a little bit of precipitation showing up on First Warn, Sky Tracker radar and satellite. Just like this morning, there will be a chance of some light rain and snow showers across the extreme southwestern viewing area. I'll have more details on the rest of your forecast coming up later on.
Thanks, Henry. Well, Sanford Power is celebrating their 20th anniversary serving the Midwest. They've been here in Bismarck for about 5 years. Today, the company held an open house to show people everything they do. Staff say thousands of athletes use the facility every day in the summer.
The best thing they're going to get from it probably is just building the relationships with the other athletes that they're working with, and then the confidence when they step back on the court, field, or whatever it might be, the swimming pool. I mean, we trained athletes all the way from swimmers to we've trained professional bull riders before.
To find out more, you can go to sanfordpower.com. Well, soon bikes will be racing in the Legacy High School gym once more. The Great American Bike Race is set for the end of April. John Salling spent part of the afternoon with one of this year's Gabber stars, Emma Williams. John?
Every year, the Great American Bike Race picks 2 stars to represent the race. This year is Emma Williams' turn in the spotlight.
Good job, Emma.
This little girl may have cerebral palsy, but she almost always has a smile on her face.
Hi, Mama. I'm the Gabber star.
Emma had some brain hemorrhaging at birth and has been in therapy sessions like this one since. She has difficulty walking and moving on her own, but that hasn't stopped her.
Get those feet underneath you.
We like to go camping in the summer. Emma enjoys being outdoors. She loves to swim. She does have an adaptive bike. Just everyday life, just like any other kid.
The Gabber money helps pay for therapy, helping Emma get stronger. It also paid for this wheelchair so she can be mobile at school.
Both together, sweetie.
Emma's just a joy to work with. She's so fun and full of life. She's hardworking, and she gives her all at therapy all the time, and she's come so far in her life, and we have nothing but bright eyes for her future.
Her parents are hopeful that Emma will one day walk on her own.
The race starts on April 27th this year, and if you'd like to donate or volunteer, you can go to gabber.sanfordhealth.org.
Came up with that idea at OMB, gets a Special Olympic gold medal for insensitivity.
Education Secretary Betsy DeVos's budget proposal that includes an $18 million cut to the Special Olympics budget is not going over well with congressional Democrats. Representative Mark Pocan said it would affect 272,000 kids. DeVos says she didn't personally approve the cuts and that she does personally contribute to the Special Olympics.
Let's not use disabled children in a twisted way for your political narrative That is just disgusting and it's shameful.
Well,
And
Madam
I think we should
Secretary, let
move
me
on
tell you
from
what,
that.
eliminating $18 million out of an $70 or $80 billion budget, I think is shameful too.
And her budget is unlikely to pass. And a Special Olympics college in Valley City is helping train athletes who may have different needs than their counterparts. Trista Crimmins played a major role in establishing the college. On top of training, she says the group also promotes awareness of Special Olympics. She says she feels immense happiness to be a part of the effort. Though she won't be able to play as big of a role next year, she's confident someone else will step in. Well, calculating college costs can be confusing, but a bipartisan effort in Congress is trying to change that. Minnesota Senator Tina Smith introduced 3 bills this week aimed at making the college application process easier for students and their families. One will help estimate how much a college costs before applying. The second will offer more student loan counseling, and the third will simplify the financial aid process by implementing a universal language. Smith says every school does it their own way, and it works for that school, but it doesn't work for students.
It makes it impossible to kind of comparison shop from one school to another. This is something that will really help families to figure out what they're getting into.
North Dakota is one of the leading honey producers in the country, which caught the attention of Australian tech company Be Innovative. It's introducing an unmanned tracking system called BDAR to the University of North Dakota Aerospace Department. The department's director, Paul Schneider, says they're excited to bring in experts on pollination, meteorology, and computer science in the future. And Bismarck State College has designated a National Center of Academic Excellence in Cyber Defense Education through 2024 by the National Security Agency and the Department of Homeland Security. Now, this recognizes that their program is accurately teaching students how to defend the nation and qualifies graduates for federal jobs in the cyber field that help reduce vulnerability to our national information infrastructure. And the House overwhelmingly passed a bill to add cyberbullying to the state's bullying definition. And it doesn't matter if it was on or off school grounds. And schools are required to inform law enforcement if there's a reasonable suspicion that a crime occurred.
Many of our young people that suffer from mental illness and suicidal tendencies attribute much of their anguish to cyberbullying. Unlike days past, the bullies do not go away once the school bell rings.
The bill now goes to the Senate. And the state Senate has voted to override the governor's veto of a bill raising driver license fees. The fiscal note indicated it would bring in an additional $5.5 million into the state treasury for road repairs.
North Dakota is going to be short about $14 billion over the next 10 bienniums to maintain our roads in the condition that they're in today.
39-06. It's now the House's turn to vote for an override. And House members changed their minds on a bill to cover burial fees for spouses of veterans. 3 legislators who are veterans expressed regret that it was rejected Monday. Today, the bill passed by 1 vote. The cost for covering the burial of military spouses was $125,000.
With all the turmoil in our country today, and the concern if you have a D or an R behind your name, which has split this country terribly, our veterans only have 1 letter behind their name. That letter is P. That letter is P. It stands for Patriot.
It now goes back to the Senate for reconsideration. A New York City councilman, Robert Cornegy Jr., was named the tallest politician in the world. But North Dakota Insurance Commissioner John Gottfried says his claim comes up short. Even though he didn't know being a tall politician was a thing, Gottfried claims he's 2 inches taller than Cornegy. So we sent our 5'9" political reporter, Andrew Horn, to investigate. Gottfried says he's ready to challenge Cornegy.
I've been confirmed as the tallest insurance commissioner in the country. So this is probably the next step. I've got a nice bipartisan coalition that has come together to really throw some support my way.
He's awaiting the application to confirm his height and says his first act as the world's tallest politician, make more big and tall clothes available. Well, the House passed a Senate bill dealing with natural gas storage, but some landowners aren't happy about the language. The bill wants to reduce flaring in North Dakota by storing natural gas underground. When they do that, the owner of the pore space, which is an open pocket in the earth, can't demand a payment. Supporters say preventing lawsuits will keep North Dakota open for oil and gas development, while the opposition says it's a rights issue.
They may win every one of them, but they get tied up in court. And if they get tied up in court, they're not interested in North Dakota.
When we start storing things on his property, in his property, we have restricted his rights. We have taken his rights.
The bill will now be reconsidered in the Senate. Well, last month, Governor Doug Burgum signed a historic compact with Mandan, Hidatsa, and Arikara Nation Chairman Mark Fox to update how the state and tribes share gas tax revenue. Today, Governor Burgum ratified that compact, changing the current 50-50 split to tribes receiving 80% on tribal trust lands and 20% on fee lands. He also signed another bill enabling tax agreements between the governor and tribes for administration and collection of taxes on alcohol and tobacco products. The State Industrial Commission established a special grant round to fund projects that involve research and development of renewable energy technologies and processes with strong growth potential in North Dakota. It's accepting applications through April 15th for the North Dakota Renewable Energy Program, which includes wind, biofuels, biomass, solar, hydroelectric, geothermal, and hydrogen. In the meantime, on Capitol Hill, Energy Secretary Rick Perry was grilled about an agreement to transfer sensitive American nuclear technology to Saudi Arabia. Career ethics officials advised against it, saying such a transition would be illegal without congressional review. Senator Elizabeth Warren said it must meet 9 specific requirements to ensure that nuclear material cannot be used to build a bomb.
Are you just now learning that that's the law?
No, ma'am, I'm just agreeing with you, Senator.
Okay, so you understand that's the law, that Congress has to approve before the Saudis can get nuclear material.
Perry says it's important for the U.S. to be a partner in the development of as many civil nuclear energy programs as possible. Well, while we deal with melting snow, they're dealing with the aftermath of a cyclone, and they need our help.
And Dickinson got some nice weather, but south and west of town, especially in Bowman County, we were talking about chances of precipitation. I have your forecast next.
Tension across the aisle as the heated healthcare debate takes center stage once more. The Trump administration has long been critical of Obamacare, and this week came out in support of a district court ruling to strike down the Affordable Care Act in its entirety. Republicans calling it an expensive disaster that the left wants to make their official policy. But Democrats are saying the right hasn't produced an alternative plan.
It costs too much. It does very little to address the skyrocketing cost of prescription drugs. And now the Democrats want more Obamacare.
There is no concrete decision from any Republican in Congress that if this court case is successful, what would happen next?
Vice President Chief of Staff Mark Short says President Trump will introduce a health care replacement to Congress sometime this year. During a Senate committee hearing, Senator John Hoeven pushed his case for reforms to help with the transportation of agricultural commodities. He's introducing a bipartisan bill to address hours of service and electronic logging device regulations to provide exemptions for agriculture, especially livestock, saying its transportation requires more flexibility than other goods.
The issue actually, as it turned out, is not the electronic logging device, it's the hours of service. And we're very much aware of the hardship that these inflexible rules have placed on rural and agricultural interests.
And willing to work with us on our legislation to address it?
Of course.
Chow agreed a one-size-fits-all solution does not work. Embattled Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro is blaming the U.S. for sabotaging its electrical network, and opposition leader Juan Guaido calling for protests after the country went black for the second time. Now in its 4th day of the second major blackout, repairs are underway. No word yet on when full service will be restored. Well, this while Mozambique is dealing with a humanitarian crisis after Cyclone Idai left large areas submerged by raging floodwaters. It devastated primary income and food sources like livestock, fisheries, and an estimated hundreds of thousands of acres of crops. The UN World Food Program is calling on the rest of the world to step up and help the victims. Well, Nebraska is also dealing with nearly $1 billion in estimated crop and livestock losses after their devastating floods. 2 North Dakota farmers saw videos of the destruction and knew they needed to help. They posted to social media to see if anyone wanted to join in the effort. Well, now 11 vehicles are leaving from Dickinson on Saturday to bring household items, fencing, hay, and other items to the victims.
The farm families know what can happen to them, and when they get a chance to say thank you by giving their hand out, you know, sending stuff to someone else that needs it, they jump all over the chance.
He says Farm Rescue helped figure out where they would take the loads of hay, and a representative will be going down to Nebraska with them. And there's good news on the flooding front for Brean residents. Yesterday, we told you they were prepping for potential flooding as the Cannonball River was expected to rise to 20.6 feet today. Fortunately, the river is now only expected to rise to 18 feet before dropping to around 13 feet by Sunday afternoon. Well, how are the water levels elsewhere, Henry?
Hey, we'll get to that in a second, but we got a little bit of precipitation out there this morning. Some of you across the far southwest woke up to some snow. This was taken just south of Bowman by Jared. Yes, picked up some wet snow, but that is practically gone thanks to the mild temperatures. However, there will be another chance tonight and also some of that occurring right now. Some light showers. Rain and or snow showers likely across, once again, the far south central region. But for a majority of the first warn viewing area, high pressure is keeping our atmosphere rather stable, but those precipitation chances will extend from Hettinger into Adams County into Bowman and Slope County and far southwest, or rather southeastern Montana. Taking a look at the timing, this is kind of going on effect now and will continue through the overnight hours with those slight rain and snow shower chances. So wet snow can't be ruled out, but when it does happen, it will be gone due to those warm surface temperatures. Otherwise, we're looking forward to nice weather on Friday. Also, maybe a little bit of precipitation across the far north as far as rain showers are concerned. Otherwise, highs for the days were in the low to mid 40s, upper 30s across the James and Red River valleys. Now we're down to just near the freezing mark. So things are cooling off rather quickly, and with the wind, it's rather light for now, thankfully, out of the south between 5 to 10 miles per hour, but that's going to be expected to increase for tomorrow. Weather in motion shows the high pressure pushes out of here. Remember, the precipitation chances, extreme southwestern North Dakota into parts of southeastern Montana. Next cold front pushes through for tomorrow, and we will be looking forward to, the chance of a little bit of precip, mainly across the eastern half of North Dakota and portion of the south central region. Very spotty at best, but majority of us will remain dry. And temperature-wise, we should remain near normal. As far as the wind, like I said, it starts out light for the first half of your day. We're already near 40 degrees as we start out the lunchtime hour, but then the wind starts to pick up behind that cold front. Instead of it being southerly behind the front, it'll become northwesterly and a little breezy at times, sometimes close to 20 miles per hour with some brief gusts behind that cold front. So when the wind picks up, you'll know that the frontal system has pushed through your area. For your morning lows, we're talking about low to mid 20s. The wind mostly out of the south, 5 to 10 miles per hour. The cloud cover does increase, but then we'll get a little bit of decreasing of that after the front pushes through tomorrow across much of the west. Otherwise, remember, northwest wind becoming northwesterly, I should say, behind the front during the second half of the day, starting from north to south and becoming breezy at times. Otherwise, we're looking at mild conditions throughout the majority of the week into next week with just a few slight chances of rain and snow showers coming ahead.
Well, they thought this man was driving under the influence, but his condition may be just as dangerous.
This is West Dakota Fox News at 9.
A Fargo man has been charged in the death and injury of his 2 young sons. Christopher Devine was driving with a blood alcohol level of .267 when he crashed on March 23rd. He lost control on University Drive South, slid into the other lane, and was struck on the rear passenger side by another vehicle. Devine's 7-year-old son, Jason, died from injuries sustained in the crash, while 5-year-old Brandon remains in critical condition and remains unconscious. Devine faces up to 20 years in prison. And Bismarck police responded to a crash and subsequent fire on 4th Street this morning. The 48-year-old driver said he fell asleep at the wheel when he crashed into a parked pickup and his car burst into flames on impact. The driver wasn't injured, but he will be cited. Officers talked with the owner of the parked car on scene as well. And state officials are investigating what caused a fire at a Minot area garbage facility earlier this morning. After finding smoldering foam insulation in the attic of Circle Sanitation, Minot rural firefighters pulled apart the rafters and cut a hole in the roof. No one was hurt. The facility was closed off for much of today, but operations and routes continued as normal. Offices will likely reopen tomorrow. Well, you're never too old to jump into new things. These seniors are showing us how to be fearless.
Closed captioning, sponsored by Wrestler Siding and Windows. Locally owned and operated since 1977.
Touchmark residents in Bismarck jumped at the opportunity to take a mystery trip. Life Enrichment Director Destiny Sisk says it's her job to help the seniors experience new things, so they get to go on a new adventure in Bismarck every month. Today, they got to experience the joys of the trampoline park Sky Zone. Eunice Balzer is on her own for the first time after losing her husband and twin sister, and she says she's taking this one step at a time.
My thought was I can do it two ways. I can be a grump, or I can smile. So I chose smiling, and it gets you farther. And I knew he'd want me to do that.
Several residents say what they miss most is hugs from their spouses. Well, they're inspiring people to have fun, though, Henry. That's sweet.
Yeah, it very is. And we want to give you some better weather, warmer, but for the time being, it's going to be a bit on the cool side tomorrow still, especially as the cold front pushes through. Temperatures to start out your Friday morning in the 20s. At least some of us will be rising to near 50 degrees, but it is going to be blustery with a northwest wind behind the cold front, anywhere from 15 to 25 miles per hour at times. Several slight chances of precipitation, and also chance of precipitation for the southwest tonight, so be mindful of that.
All right. Well, other than that, it doesn't look too bad.
Not too bad.
Thanks so much. Have a